Hey guys, Saturday night, welcome to the stream. Hope you are all well. And tonight we are going to start by mixing up our materials on our paintings with the level names on them, which are going to be the level selection things. So before I do anything, let's have a look at what we have at the moment, which is this, which is kind of the answer that we want to come to, but isn't quite the correct thing yet. Okay, but that is basically the final effect that we want. Okay, so with that in mind, we've got a few things to do, and the first thing is our frames can stay, but our landscapes are going to change, right? And our landscapes are going to change to images, texture 2Ds, and not, and I'll show you why in a minute. Right, so these are going to change to texture 2Ds. This is going to screw everything up. Hi Marcus Games, how are you doing, mate? How are you this fine Saturday evening? Right, so this is going to muck up this, which is fine because that's exactly what we want. And basically these should be texture 2Ds, and these are all wrong now, right? But what we're going to do is we're going to have to compile this, and you'll notice that these are all now empty. But what we're going to do is we're going to pump in the actual images instead of the materials, because we're going to create a dynamic material out of the images plus the level name image. Okay, so now that we've done that, we can basically, we probably can't plug this in, which is fine, right? But what we will do is now get the length of this, and similarly we'll be deleting that. This is going to plug in here. This can move back into position. And then we're going to do a get on this. Okay, and that is going to be a save. Now that's the first part of our problem. The next part of our problem is going to be our struct, and this struct is also going to change from a material to a texture 2D. Okay, and I'll show you why we're going to be doing that in a minute. We'll save that. Then we're going to have to go into our maps and levels, and this is going to have to change to level 1 texture, which is absolutely fine. That's exactly what we want. Okay, so how has that affected us? Well, now what we've done is we've changed this to a texture, right? And we've changed this to a texture. And what we're going to do now is we're going to create a dynamic material and we can do this in case we need this later, right? What we're going to do is create a dynamic material and I blocked this person earlier. We'll just block them again. And we'll just report them again as well. How are you this fine Saturday evening, Marcus? Right, we're going to set this to be our dynamic material. Then we're going to set two parameters. Okay. Hang on a second. Yeah, that is a material instance. And that's fine. That's fine if I spell it right, of course. Right? So we're setting a texture parameter. Then right, this is weird. Never had this before. Interesting. Merged pick. Is this the correct? I'm pretty sure this is the correct material. Yeah, that's the right one. Right, so in this picture what we've done is we've set up two texture samples, right, and these are parameters. One's called background, one's called level name. Okay, we're lerping them together and using the mask of this, the alpha, to basically set this up. Okay, so that gives us our correct material when we do that. Okay, but we should be able to set these up, but for some reason, don't ask me why, and what material is this? Right, this is level 1 material, which was kind of the test bed for this, for when we were first doing it. Right, so we can actually delete this just so we're not confusing ourselves. So this is the material that we're getting, right? So in our BP picture, right, do we see that doesn't go in there? Is this Wait a minute. Is this material instance dynamic? Okay. So I'm going to guess now. Set texture parameter value. Right, this is what we wanted. So now what we do is we type in background, except we spell it right. Okay, and the background is going to be this, and then we do the same thing again, and it's going to be oh, thank you, Nub. That's very kind of you. I hope you do well learning Unreal Engine 5, mate. I hope you make good progress. If you want some tips and stuff, you can join my Discord. The link is in the description. You're welcome to join. And now what we're doing is we're getting the level data for this image. This is the level name, right? But it's the texture here. Okay. And if we plug that in there, and now we can do that, and what we do is drag this in and put this here. Okay. And this should now work properly. And you can see that it does. Now that looks the same as what it did, okay, but that's kind of not the point here. The point is that we can now basically, if we just go to our data table, right, and we add a row, right, and we say 2, and we say 2, and let's say for the moment we'll use the same one, right? Just in the short term, we're going to change this in a minute, right? And we'll call this blood donor. Donor. Okay, that's not getting used at the moment, but we're going to use this. We'll save that, and just to show you how we update our map, well, we've maybe already set this to 2 actually. So let's have a look. Indeed we have. Right, so you can see that we've got one picture there and we've got a different picture, but our 2 materials get blended together and work a treat. So say we wanted to change this, right? If I wanted to actually type in blood donor, how would I do it? Well, quite simple actually. What I do is I open recent, I do that, then all I want to do is get the sizes. So it's 400 by 293, okay? So if we do a new, and we do 400 by 293, okay that, then if we fill it in black, then we do a text and make it red, and then we do our Wolfie font, which is this one. Now I can't exactly remember what size I used for this. I'm going to go with 72. Right, and for this, obviously it's far too big, so we go blood donor, and we change the size down to, let's say, 48, and that might work actually. Do you think we should go with that? Or do you think I should spin it round a bit? What do you think, Nub and Marcus? What do you make of it? Right, either way, we can do save as. Right, and this is going to be level 2. Oh, we've got something still to do. We've got to get the transparency in here. So we delete that, delete that, delete that, that, and that. And then we save as level 2 and save. Okay that. Then we can close this down. Then we can open up level images, and then we can open up this again. We can drag this in. Okay. And now what we can do is we can go back to our DT levels and basically go for level 2. Save that. Okay. And if we press play, that's obviously set up wrong. So we need to go to the map and to gateway, save all that stuff. Right, and then we select this picture here, and it is set to level number 2. Okay. So we need to go in here, and that's set to 2, that's set to 2. That's interesting. Right. No worries. So this is the image. Right, so this is weird. And wait a minute. Yeah, it has got level 2. So that is right. That is level 1. That is level 2. So this should work. 1. It's row name 2. That's level 2. Right. So that is correct. So we'll add a breakpoint here and add a breakpoint here. We'll press play. And the first one is level 1. Right? So it should do that once. And then it should jump back. But it doesn't. Okay. Okay. So that is completely weird. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to delete that, right? And then we're going to, whoopsie. Yeah, actually we can do that. Browse to asset. Right, then we'll drag this in again. And then we set the level number to 2. And if we run that, step over, we've got 1, but it's not doing it again. It's not doing it for each one. Well, that's bizarre. Okay, right, if you're going to be like that, what we'll do is we'll change this to 2 and see what happens. Right, we'll do a save all. Set to 2. Okay. Is this getting the right thing? Right, hang on a second. Material, right, wait a minute here. We're going to get this and we're going to reset it to nothing. We're going to get that and reset it to nothing. Right, now it's obviously doing something right, because it was wait a minute. Right, let's take a look at this, right? So we're getting we're getting 2. Right, now our level data coming out is blood donor. And it's images level 2, which is correct. So there's something going on when we set our dynamic material. Right, I'm not setting the name. Right, so it was working correctly, it's just I'm an idiot. So that should be level name. Aye. Foolish man. So disable that. Disable that. Right. Then we can change this back to 1. Right. And that's on 2, so that's fine. Right, so now we need to set this on the Z. We need right, we need to set it to 150. Right, and then on the green we need this number here. Okay, so now when we press play, there we go. We get this, we get this. Looking good. Okay, I'm not sure which one I prefer. I'm actually maybe going with this one. Don't know, what do you guys think? What do you think? You think the slanted one or the straight up one? Don't know. Looks good to me, either way. So the next thing we're going to do is, now that that's working, is we're going to go back to our maps and do that. And the next thing we're going to do is get our teleporters now to be interactive. Okay. So, before I do that, guys, if I can ask you, those watching, if you're enjoying the stream, hit the like, subscribe button. Help me get to 500. It'd be absolutely fantastic. We're not that far away, so that would help a great deal. And now we're going to teleporters, and we go to BP teleporter. Okay. And the next thing we do is we reparent it and interact item. Okay. And the next thing we do is we drag this down and we basically we say event interact action, and basically it's going to be this thing here. Right, it's going to be this. So we copy that and we paste it in here. And this we break and we'll move this out of the way for now. We just want to make sure we've got a copy of that code just in case. And we can save this for now. And we know that the picture is an interactive item. Right? So all we need to do is basically copy these two things here. So we can copy the unhover and we can copy this. Right, let's see. We're doing it to Pawn Chronicles, that's fine. So now we go into the teleporter. Right, and we're going to move all this stuff down a bit. And we'll in fact delete that now. And we shall paste our other code. Okay, and if that's true, we basically get that and we paste that in there and we don't delete that because that is actually fine. Right, and let's do, is it a 0 or is it a 1? That's the question. We'll soon find out. Right, because what we can do is we're going to need to go to level 1, right, and find ourselves the teleporters or make ourselves some more teleporters. One of the two. So we come down to here, click on maps, level 1. Save that for now. Come on, let's go. Right, so if we wanted to, right, let's just create some new ones. So here is the start of our level, right? And what we'll do is we'll go back to our teleporters. basically just drag a couple in. Doesn't really matter where. Well, in actual fact, so we're going to set up an index and we'll call it 5. Where'd the other one go? I guess it's this one. And that's teleporter number 5 as well, or index number 5. Doesn't really matter that this is either below ground or above ground. The only one that really matters is this one here, because that's the one we're going to check. Apparently it's right. We're going to undo that. So basically, where did our teleporter go? Right, so it's teleporter number 5. We know it's right there. Right, I'm guessing that I've made this material one-sided. Yep. Right, so it's right at the end of the building, and we want to make sure it is inside so that we can actually hit it. Okay, so we've now got 2. So which one's which is the question. Got 5, which is the one we want. And that's 3. Well, it basically doesn't actually matter. Right, we'll just go back to 5 and we'll bring this back in. Right, we need to change this from 100 down to 50. Right, so that'll do us. Right, so now if I press play, right, we should be able to turn around and you'll notice that it doesn't jump you automatically, it's now interactive. Right? So, yeah. Oh, right. So that takes us to the other one. Okay. So, is that gonna... No, I wasn't expecting that to work anyway. Right. So that's fine. So, basically, this is number 3. And what we want is number 6. Right? So let's put number 6 just inside the wall here. Right, so basically this one is at the end of the wall. Okay. It's not quite flush with the wall, but we can get it that way. Right, so that'll do. So now if we do this, this now takes us over to this one. And that takes us back to the start. And then in 5 seconds that'll come back up again. And there we go. Okay. So we have now made our teleporters interactive. Okay. Which is pretty cool, I'd say. Suddenly those have got a bit big for some reason. Unless that's because it's not anywhere near the end of the wall. Which I think is the case. Yeah, it's miles. It's actually miles the wall. Yeah, that's the wall there. And you can see it's much better. So yeah, we've now made them interactive, which is great. So basically what do you guys, I'm going to take a break, have a cigarette. So if you're enjoying the stream, hit like and subscribe. And if you've got anything that you want me to work on in the next hour, let me know and we shall take a look at it. Or any tips you need or anything you want to ask, by all means put it in the chat and we'll see what we can do with an answer. I'll be right back. Okay guys, we're back. Bye for now, Marcus. Nice that you pop in. Always nice to see familiar faces. Hi Blue Leo, how are you doing tonight? Hope you're well. So we've just set our transporters now to be, or teleporters, sorry, to be interactive, right? So you need to press a button to go through them. So we've now got the wooden blocks to be interactive and the teleporters to be interactive, and we have our level selectors to be interactive, and we can set anything up now we want to be interactive. We could actually do the doors now as well if we wanted to. I don't know if I'm going to do that yet, or if you're just going to automatically open the doors. It's kinda, who knows, right? But what we're going to do now is we're going to go into our intermediate level, or level select level, basically, right? And we could do a little bit more decoration. Now, I want to have a look at this because I'll tell you why. This is a blueprint, okay? And I would have thought it has different sounds, which it does, right? But it doesn't seem to be playing them. It has got the cues, right? But it doesn't seem to be running these. Now, here's the thing, that I've programmed this before, and it seems to me that I've actually, it seems to be this timeline. I'm guessing this timeline is maybe once per second. This is the angle, but I'm guessing that because this is nothing. No, it's not. Right, this is strange. Okay. So, if that's the point, why is this timeline on the event begin play? This is because it's looping, right? So I'm guessing that this clock should actually be moving, as in seconds, right? And should be playing sounds. Right? So I'm going to stick a print string in here to see if it's actually doing it, rather than right, and I'm going to say tick. Right, so if I press play, it's doing tick. Now, is the second hand moving? Yes, it is, look. The second hand is moving. It is playing the sound, it's just not loud enough. Right, okay. Now, this is what I was telling you guys, right, about the likes of what could you say? importing stuff from other projects, right? This is where it comes in really, really handy that I've got a ticking clock, right, that I can use right off the bat. And there you go. Ticking clock. Now that's weird. I'm wondering if that's because of the sound, right? But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to have a look at the attenuation on this, right? Because I don't think it's far enough. Right, so we're going to have a look at this. We'll set them both to 2. Right. Attenuation shape. Right, that's okay. Inner radius. Right, so if you're too close, it appears that it stops. Right, and then we'll set this to, let's say, 3000. Right, and we'll save this. And we'll press play. And that's working. But if you're not facing it, it goes away. Okay. Anyway. Right. So we're not worrying about that because that works. Right? And there's no point in worrying about things that work. Right? It's just it's not working absolutely perfectly. Right? So we basically want to just fill out this room a bit to give it a bit more of a lived-in feel, shall we say? Right? And this is the type of thing I want, a chair. Right, so we can look at that in a second. We've also got a toilet. Got some of that stuff. Right, we've got these tables, which is good. Got these longer tables. Don't know what size they're going to be in comparison to everything else, but we can have a look in a second. If I throw in a table here, and that's pretty big. It's pretty big, but it might do the job. Right, but what I want to do in the meantime is go up these stairs, right? And like put a couple of seats. These were under chairs, weren't it? Right, so we've got a couple of these chairs that we can put, hopefully. Over here. And we can duplicate that. And spin it around. Move it to here. And drag it to there. And then we can bring in a table. Which hopefully isn't too tall. No, not too tall. Okay, that's fine. Right, so that sets us up nicely up there. And in the meantime, you know what I'm going to do, just because what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up a map number 2. Right, because basically if I run into map number, if I duplicate this, is this a good idea? Right, and we just call it 2. Right, that gives us our second level. So now if we actually go in here, it'll actually work. We will get an actual second level. It'll take us to a different level. Right, so that should work nicely for us. Hi Blue Leo, how you doing, mate? I saw you the first time. I don't know if you just didn't hear me, but we've got this here and we need to work on. Actually, you know what we should do is we should put some carpets down. And let's look at our meshes here. And here's our carpets. Let's have a look. That's pretty big. And for some reason we're getting the bots out tonight. Oh, okay, Blue Leo. No worries, mate. I'm just working on some stuff. We can do a 0.75. And if we spin this around, I'm hoping that this will fit. Okay, maybe not. Or maybe we can put it in between. Yeah, that works for me. Right, we'll not have it too similar, or in fact those are different sizes apart. So what we'll do is we'll just shimmy that around to 90 and then drop this at the end here. Right, and then we can probably put something on top of that. Okay, and then we can probably duplicate that, drag it there, rotate it around 180 so it's not exactly the same. Then we can probably just stick it here, drag it to the side a bit, and then just put it off center just slightly. And if we say 355, okay, that was a bad idea. Or was it? Maybe it wasn't. Okay, 90, 92. Right, so we can just take it off center a bit, and we'll change this to 0.7, and that's better. We'll drag this one in, and again we'll drag it off center, and we'll drag this one in. Yeah, I was pretty sure that was going to be a big one, so we're going to go with 0.5 and drag that over to there, and drag this to here. And now we're beginning to get a bit more sort of atmosphere to the place, right? It's not brilliant yet, but we're doing fine. How are you tonight, Blue Leo? Or Leo? Was it you that said just call me Leo? I think it was. Right, Leo. And what we're going to do now is we're going to put some photos up here, although we're not going to have, or at least we're going to kind of have blueprints, and we're going to have BP pictures, and that's at the right height of 150. And that should actually be okay there. So that's cool. So if I press play now, I don't know if you guys can hear the clock ticking or not. Right, but now you'll notice that we've got our levels, and that's obviously out of line and stuff, so that's not a level. You'll notice that there's nothing comes up when you go next to it, right? So it's just a picture. And we can put these up wherever we want. Okay. So the idea here is to have, right, we can close this down. We can remove this because that's all working. I never noticed that that clock was actually moving or ticking. Right, so one of the ideas I've got here, right, is you've obviously got the two levels here, right? And once you've completed those levels, right, then you're going to be able to, or it's going to move like this bookshelf. So like this bookshelf is going to go right now. Well, it's not a problem, but it obviously pivots in the middle, but I'm going to want it to pivot at one side, right? But we'll deal with that when we come to it, right? And I don't know what else to work on tonight, to be honest. If any of you guys in the chat have got any ideas, let me know. I'm still trying to get to 500 subscribers, so hit like and subscribe as well, please. That would be very much appreciated. And if we go back now to our meshes, we do want some floor coverings here, right? So we're going to throw our round thing in there. We've got carpets there anyway. Right, and what we can do is we can make this a bit bigger by 1.25. That's good. And we can move this a bit here and then spin it around a bit so everything isn't exactly symmetrical and stuff. But that's good. And now we probably want some static pictures up here with some lights on them or whatever. But in the meantime, I am going to quickly go and grab a drink, so don't go anywhere, guys. I shall be right back. As I said, if anybody's got any ideas on what I should work on or something you want me to explain or go through or whatever, pop it in the chat. We can have a look at it. No problem with that. And I shall be right back. 2 seconds, guys. Okay guys, we're back. Right, so what the idea was I was having while I was having a little getting my drink was we've got carpets and stuff, right? But the question is, do we have curtains that are shut? We've got curtains that are open, but do we have curtains that are shut? And it looks like the answer is no, but there is another set of stuff here, but I don't think there's as much, and this is all just walls and stairs and stuff. So we're kind of screwed there, right? And yeah, that's the meshes, this is the blueprints. Darn it. Okay, there was one thing I did want to look at, right? Which was in a very similar game that used these things, I could change out all the wallpapers in a level, right? Which meant that the game looked different every time. That was also something I wanted to do here. I might do that in a later stream, right? Where basically I pick from about 13 different wallpapers and then it just basically updates every single wallpaper in a level. And that makes the game stay fresh and different looking all the time, right? Now, what we need some sort of vampire stuff here, right? But without an actual vampire thing, then we're not going to be able to do that for now. So I think all we can do for the moment, it's kind of boring, but is fill out our level, right? Because I'm not 100% sure to work on, and you guys aren't giving me any help here by telling me what to do. Right, so in effect we were working on this side and then we were working on that other side, which we're going to meet up at some point, right? And that's a T-junction. So yeah, we could use this turn, I suppose. No, I don't need help. I just need suggestions on what people want me to work on. Oh, by the way, Cybershell, the answer to your question from earlier, right? You said performance. You said something about performance, right? You were, well, at least you were asking something about performance. And the answer is, yes, I do take it into consideration. Okay? But it will be something at the end. For this particular game, I don't think we're going to have any performance issues at all, because there isn't anything that complicated happening. All the levels are pre-built. We can change the... Yes, I do check performance, right? And if there's anything obviously happening that's causing issues, then yes, I would have a look at it. But there's really nothing in this game that's going to do that. But I will still do some profiling on it at the end, right? But as I said, I just don't see it happening in this game at all, because there's not an awful lot happening, and also I'm basically in control of anything that might get out of hand, right? The only issues I've had before were well, you see, here's the point, right? Normally what will happen with like somebody new to Unreal will be that they'll program stuff on tick, right? And that is a problem, and that will cause you issues, right? But I learned pretty quickly not to put anything on tick, and there's pretty much nothing on tick in this game other than the controls, right? So there should really be no issues with this game at all, right? As I was saying, the only time I've had issues is with like huge, it was like a lot of AI characters and even that wasn't a problem. It was more to do with a dynamic nav mesh, right? Because basically what was happening was that if you changed the nav mesh, then basically it had to recalculate everything for your AI, right? Because they're obviously using the nav mesh to navigate, right? So it has to basically calculate all the navigation data for every single one of your, like, let's say NPCs, right? It's never okay to use, well, okay. It's okay to use tick where it is absolutely necessary. Okay? Otherwise, set timers, right? Have things running on timers. Okay? A lot of stuff that people put on tick, it doesn't need to be on tick, right? Even if you're only running it once every, let's say, 0.5 of a second, right? That means that you're saving 20 times a tick, right? Because a tick will run like every 0.016 seconds, right? If you're running at 0.5, then basically you're running at a 20th of the amount, right? Now, if that's on an NPC and you've got 100 NPCs, right, you're obviously going to make huge gains, right? So basically, don't run anything on tick if you don't need to, okay? That is my thoughts on the matter. As I said, I mean, there's no law against using tick, right? It's just bad practice to use it as a failsafe, right? Because Well, tick runs under normal circumstances, in the way people use it, it runs every frame, right? Now, you can get away from that by not running it every frame, but the easiest way to do it and control it is not to use it. If you're going to set a thing to run every, let's say, second, then just run it on a timer that's on loop on every second. And the advantage of that is the fact that you can switch it off and on whenever you like. Right? So, for example, right, I'll show you an example of it in this game. And I actually use it as a gameplay device as well, right? Right, wait a minute. Right, so on the minimap, right, the minimap only updates the position of the monsters every 2 seconds. Right, now if I put it on tick, it's going to be buttery smooth and fast, right? But having that little bit of delay on it adds to the gameplay, right? Because you never quite know exactly where the monster is. You know the vicinity, but you don't quite know exactly, right? So by me running it every 2 seconds, I'm saving 120 ticks, right? Because it's going to tick once every, or 60 times a second, right? But because I've got it on a function, a timer function, that only does it every 2 seconds, I'm only doing it, once, whereas a tick would run every 120 times, right? So that's when you can, that's a kind of clever way to do it. I'm not saying the cleverest way to do it, but it's a kind of, it's an efficient way of doing it, and also giving you a gameplay advantage of doing it that way, right? So you're not just doing it to save time and efficiency and save processing time, you're doing it as a little bit of a gameplay mechanic, okay? In this case, obviously that's not going to be the case in every situation, right? But fundamentally, that's a use for it, right? So when I calculate out when the monster moves, right? As I said, it only does it every 2 seconds, which works out well. And as I said, it gives a little bit more to the actual mechanic, rather than having it buttery smooth, and it just adds that little element of not quite knowing exactly where the monsters are at any given time. I mean, I could put it up to even bigger than that. I could put it up to 3 seconds or 5 seconds, which would add even more uncertainty to the player of where the monster is. Right? It then becomes like not as much of a monster marker as a last known position of the monster on the minimap, right? Which, as I said, if you think about it, you can use these things to your advantage, right? So, a bit of performance related coding can actually bring something to the game as well, even though like the player's never going to know it's because of that, right? That you want to save on tick time. They'll just see it as the way the minimap works, right? Now, whether they like it or not, I don't know. But that's just a little thing that I do within this game to improve performance with no downside, really. And if I think I can show you that. Right, let's have a look here. And let's have a look at it, and I'll show you the actual thing that does it. Right. Now, where is it? Apparently it's not there. I think it might be under minimap. But we should be able to find it in here anyway. Right, because basically the monsters spawn their own marker. So it's going to be on the begin play of an actual monster. At least I hope it is. Oh yeah, here's another way I do things, right? Like, there's one of the pickups stuns the monsters for 10 seconds, right? And rather than tick and do a counter, all I do is set a timer to run once after 10 seconds that resets stunned. So I don't need to keep a track of whether a monster's stunned or not on tick or anything like that. All I do is fire off a timer after 10 seconds, right? Now, I know that's an arbitrary number, but I could set the stun time to a variable if I wanted, right? So there's another way of not using tick, right? So I don't keep a counter or anything for that. I just fire it off after 10 seconds, right? So basically, that's the monsters. And if I get an actual monster here, right, and we get demon, right, basically what it does is, this is the monster marker here, right? So monsters spawn their own marker, right? And if we look at the monster marker, which is here, you'll notice that it's on an update, right? It's on a custom function, right? And what I do is at the start, I set that timer to run that function every 2 seconds, right? And it loops. Now, originally, I had it on tick, but I try to avoid tick, right? So basically, I messed about with the timing of this number here, right? The loop time, and I came to a number of 2 seconds, which wasn't too big, wasn't too small, saved processing time, and just done that. Okay, so hopefully that'll give you some ideas for your own game. But what you got to remember is that this is an event-driven language, right? Or an event-driven programming type style, especially in blueprints, right? So you basically just want to create and fire events at the appropriate times. right? Rather than run anything on tick, apart from performance sensitive stuff like your actual controls, okay? And even then, you can actually make the basic controls more efficient, right? By basically not doing any calculate. You'll notice if I go to the player controller, right? I can show you this. If you go to the actual player controller blueprint, right? And then I look at the movement event graph, you will notice that it might not be this one. Yeah, it's got this add movement input. It doesn't do that. Okay. There's certain controllers that use like different calculations, and you can actually stop those calculations happening if the input is 0, so that you don't actually do those calculations, right? But it's not this one, apparently. That's for motion controllers, right? That was a bad example, but there is one. I think it's the third person controller, uses other calculations as well to work out a final rotation and stuff. But what you can do is basically check the axis value and only do the calculation if the axis value is not 0. Okay? So you could actually put it in here. You could say move forward, right? And you could do a check on this to see if it is 0 or not, right? And if it's 0, you don't do this, right? Which means that you're saving on calculating, getting the forward vector, adding a forward vector, doing the select, and checking a boolean, and then actually adding the movement, right? So you could actually set this up so if this value here is 0, basically do nothing. Right? So you're only checking one value there. So there's a way to actually improve the efficiency of the standard movement controls in Unreal Engine 5. Okay? You can do that on movement input, move left, move right, etc., etc. Right? So hopefully that helped. And these actually need moved. I need to recreate these for move because I've left the original controls in, whereas what I've done is got them split. Well, the reference is player camera because they've got to get the forward. They've got to get the forward vector of the camera. Right, if there is a forward vector of the camera. Right, they're just using the actor or the pawn if you've not got a camera. Right? But yeah, you can turn this and change it and make it... No, it's on a select, so basically it is using it, but they're just checking to see if there is a camera or not. right? And if there's not a camera, they just use the actual pawn, right? But there we go. And once again, guys, we're trying to get to 500 subscribers, so if you wouldn't mind hitting that subscribe button, that would be a great help and much appreciated. So yeah, hopefully that will give you some ideas. Cyber Shell. It is getting the rotation, by the way, Marcus, yes, but basically what they're doing is saying, is there a camera, yes or no? If there's a camera, use that. If there's not, then use the actor, right? Because if you look at it, it's using this select here. And it's actually what it's actually checking here for is the head mounted display, right? And it's using the actor in one instance and it's using the camera in the other instance. Right? So there we go. And we can keep building shit. It's all good fun. But as I said, I don't know what to work on next. I don't know what interests you guys, what you want to see, what you'd want me to explain if I can. Not saying I'm an expert on everything, because I'm obviously not. But I would say I know a little bit. Is that a T-junction? No, it's not. It's just not facing the right way, which is fine. Right, the idea here, by the way, guys, is when I have created this level, I'm going to go back and I'm going to create new and different versions of these blocks so that you can actually have like open rooms and it'll still work in the minimap and stuff, and I'll still be able to place items within those rooms and stuff. But that's the idea. Right. So yeah, I prefer sitting doing this, getting a coffee and stuff actually. You know, get a coffee and sit down and build these things rather than doing it on a stream, because it's not exactly the most exciting or the most interesting or informative of activities at this point. Okay, there's certain parts of this that is procedurally generated, right? Let me explain. Right, so I'll save that for now. Okay, here's a more interesting one, right? Because this was fairly simple, right? Now, all it's fairly simple as long as you think it out. If you think through how you want it to work. Right, now I've got a better example, right, that I can show you actually doing stuff, okay? Because I can do a simulation and it will show you actually doing it. I mean, this will as well, but I've got a better one. Right, here we go. I have a bookshelf, okay? An empty bookshelf. Right. So what I did was I said, right, I don't want an empty bookshelf, but I don't want to place the books on it. But, where's the simulate button? Where is simulate button? Okay. I'm just going to look at the code. So what it does is you get a thing that says is random in the editor. So when you place one of these books in the level, it will basically say, am I a randomized set of books or not? Right? And then you can select the frequency of the books. Okay? And then that'll decide how many books are going to go in the bookshelf. Okay? So basically what it does, it finds the start location bottom first. Right? And then it'll basically work out the width of the books and the width that you've got to work with. Okay? And then it'll basically start placing books everywhere. Right? So I don't know why we haven't got a simulation button. Right? But you can see here that what it does is it works from left to right, okay? And it'll place a book, or it'll place it at an angle, then calculate the width that it's used and take it away from the total width you've got. And then basically it'll keep doing that until you've got to the end of the bookshelf. Okay, now let me do something to give you an example of it happening. Right, so if I go to maps, right, and I go to the main menu, I can bring a bookcase into the main menu, right? So what I'll do is, if we go to the bookcases again, and I bring in a bookcase, right, you will notice it's empty. But if I press play, it's got books. Right, you can calculate mesh volumes because you've got a bound. Each mesh has got mesh bounds, and it gives you the top, the bottom, the left and the right. Okay, so you can basically calculate the width, the height, etc, etc. So there's a bookcase that fills itself, right? So let me see. I've still not got the simulation button. I still don't know why, because it should have a simulation button. But you'll notice, right? Now what I can do is I can select that bookshelf and set it to whether it's random or not, right? And if I set the frequency to 1 and press play, it's not doing anything in that case. I don't know if this is the right bookcase or not, or what I need to set it to, because I can't remember. Right, or whether this is even the right bookcase to use in this instance. So we'll try this bookcase. This will do the exact same thing. And again, it has this frequency. So you'll see that that gets filled up. Right? And all it does is basically go through each of the books and then picks out a book, right? And then it'll, like, there's some of them that will get moved like in a certain direction so that it's not a complete, like it's stacked full, and it'll work like that. Right, now I don't know what the frequency is doing at this point. Right, you'll notice that that's slightly different again. Well, it's different every time because it's procedurally generated, but anyway. If I say it's not randomly generated, that means that I pick the frequency. I think. Don't even know how this works anymore. I wrote this quite a while ago. Right, I would need to go into the code and check, because some of these might not actually do anything. Some of them might. Right, but as you can see, if I set it to a random generation, it does actually generate different right, so is this, so yeah, that does it as well. Right, I don't know what it does if you don't select random. Right, I'm guessing no, it's not because I'm lost or didn't know how to do it or whatever. I did it all at the time. It was just a project that was about a year ago, and I forgot how it was supposed to work, right? Which nodes need switched on and off for it to do different things, right? But you can see there that it's generating random books, which is generally the point. Right, that's not the best one. Was it this one that was bigger? Yeah, it was this one that was bigger. Right, if we do it as, like, let's say 1.5 and press play, you know. So yeah, that's me playing around with some procedural generation. Um, that actually looks pretty good in the background of that, I've got to say. I was wondering whether or not to put some background stuff in behind them or not. Right, but let's have a look at this. Right, so this is an absolute mess, right? So you can tell I did this in an afternoon and it was just working, and I just went, oh yeah, that's working, that'll do, right? But you'll notice, oh, right, so if it's random, right, okay, okay. It's not working properly because I haven't got the numerator set up. Right, you'll notice that this is basically nothing. Right? But if I set the frequency value here, you'll notice that it's 9, right? But if I set this to 1, okay, and save that, and then I press play, well, still did the same thing. Right, but the reason it's not working is because this enumerator isn't sorted working or set up properly, so it's obviously getting values here. This fill complete, is that set up? I don't know. The random floats normally don't come in quite right. Right, whether this is right or right, I don't know. So I could probably tidy this up a heck of a lot better. That would make sense, but there it's doing some calculations to find out the width used and how much of the width is currently used, etc, etc. Right, but yeah, it does a whole load of stuff. Right, but basically for the layout pieces, right, it does a very simplistic version of this, which basically, if we look in maps for the layout parts, if we look in layout straight, right, it does this, right? So it runs a sequence and basically says if I choose a number less than 30%, then I put a light in on the right, right? And if I put a light in on the right, I can't have a picture on the left, right? So it deletes them, and then it basically, something like that, right? If I put a light in, right, okay, there's a 30% chance it puts a light on the right, okay? If it does that, it removes the picture component on the right, okay? Then it comes over and says, okay, if you've done that, there's a 40% chance that you're going to put a light on the left, And if it does that, or if it does that, it removes the picture on the right. And if it isn't that, then it removes the light on the right. So basically what you end up with is it'll do a certain thing, and then if it has done it, it'll remove all the corresponding things that no longer apply. So if it draws a light, then it will remove the picture on the right. If it draws a light on the left, it will remove the picture on the left, right? So basically it's procedurally making something that makes sense, even though you'll notice if we look in the viewport, right, when you look in the viewport, everything exists, right? So all it's going to do is, if this is okay to stay, it's going to remove this. If this stays, then it removes that picture. If it has the picture, then it removes the light. And the same on the left, right? Now, I've set up in here, when you look at it, right, that when you bring this in, you set up something that says either a mini-map pickup, a speed pickup, a stun pickup, or none. And it basically removes these components depending on which one you select, right? So when I'm making my level, I just go into here, and basically it's got the 3 variables, or it's got a, what do you call it? It's got an enumerator, right, to say which pickup do you want to apply, okay? So, as I said, you just need to think about how you're going to do it, right? That makes sense, i.e. you put these in. If you've got a light, you remove the picture. If you've got a picture, you remove the light, right? Same on the other side. You got a picture, remove the light. Got a light, remove the picture. Okay? If you select the minimap, then delete everything else. If you select none, delete everything, right? If you select the speed, delete the minimap, delete the stun. Okay? Now that's not procedural, that's just you setting up a variable in the editor. When you bring a piece in to the map, you can set it from there, which makes it easy for you to just set it up, right? Basically, you just, I'll show you in the map, right, how this is done, right? So if I go to maps, right, and then go to 1, I'll save that for now. I like my bookcase. I do want it to work properly, which I can check it later and find out what the enum is and stuff like that I need to set, right? But if I select a straight, you'll notice in here I've got pickup type, and I can just select which pickup type I want for that particular section, right? So I can have a none, a stun, a minimap, or a speed, right? And if I add more pickups in, then I'll just add to the enumerator and then just append the code slightly, and that'll be it. Be done. Okay, so guys, if you've enjoyed the stream, hit like and subscribe. I'm going to call it a night. Hope you've enjoyed it. And check out the description for a Discord. You're free to join. And ways to support the channel through Patreon for as little as $2, or you can get your name in the game for $5, and my previous game on Steam, and that's a shilling done for now. So I shall catch you tomorrow at 2 PM Central. Thanks for watching, everybody, and bye bye.